Katz with Gallery Glass, and I'm here to speak with Emma McClendon, the Assistant Curator of Costume at the museum at FIT.
How do you feel about fashion personally?
I've always had, I think, an interest in fashion. As many people, again, in this field, came into it from art history, but experimented a bit with the other sides of fashion, fashion design, also retail aspects, and this ultimately was the best way to fuse my two interests. But definitely, since I was a child, I grew up with a very fashionable mother and fashionable grandmother, and so I always sort of had these sort of fashion objects around and became very interested in them that way.
Who would you say dictates fashion?
Oh, that's a hard one.
That is a hard one.
I think that's something that's sort of at the crux of fashion history, sort of seeing really where different styles, aesthetics, and trends evolve from. Actually, the next exhibition I'm working on is looking at just that, looking at the evolution of the fashion trend, if you will, something that's so seemingly integral to the fashion industry now. The word trend is on every fashion magazine cover and blog post out there, it seems.
Well, maybe you can walk us through your process a little bit.
Absolutely. So, as curators here at FIT, we have a very hands-on process with our very not tech advanced board that we're looking at here. Every member of the curatorial staff pretty much has one of these boards in their office, actually, at the museum. And this is really where we brainstorm our ideas for the exhibitions as they take shape. So obviously all the things you're seeing are printouts from our database. So we do have an online database, and we do a lot of piece projects from sort of a digital standpoint, but nothing really beats the ability to pull objects on and off a board, sort of place them next to each other and really play around in this way. So we've come up with this sort of board process to really sort of, pin, juxtapose, and group things together and really sort of bring the show to fruition in this way. As you see, we also have it with the tape, the actual layout of our gallery downstairs that I curate in with my colleague Ariel Alaya. We work in what's called the Fashion and Textile History Gallery, which, as you see, is an L-shaped gallery. In this gallery space, we only show pieces from our permanent collection at the museum, so that's quite different from other exhibitions that a lot of museums have, where it's a combination of loans and permanent pieces.
What makes a designer qualified to be a part of the permanent collection?
Well, at the museum at FIT, our initiative is to collect directional clothing, and we have a particular concentration on 20th century fashion and 21st century fashion. So it's a very sort of modern and contemporary collection here at the museum, and it's always looking for avant-garde, forward-thinking fashion.
Great.
So yes, as you see, all of the pieces are part of our permanent collection, but this also gives us an opportunity to acquire new pieces from outside sources to include them in the collection. What we're thinking about for this particular exhibition, we've been in conversation with Opening Ceremony to include them in the exhibition, which would mean that they would become part of our permanent collection for the first time, which is really exciting because they are such a forward-thinking, very important brand of the moment. So another thing that we also, obviously, we bring in supplementary material out beyond the clothing as well in what we do. So throughout the exhibition, we bring in paper materials, including Vogue. So I'm lucky enough that in my office, I actually have quite a substantial holding of historic Vogue.
Just a little bit.
Yeah, at my disposal. These are belong to the museum, and they're kept here, as you see, in archival boxes, but also just freestanding. And we're able to, staff of the museum, we're able to pull from these pieces and really sort of use them as part of our research.
This is every little girl's dream in front of me.
I know. I have people often come into the office and kind of can't believe that I have access just sort of at my disposal all day long. But one thing that's fun is, so for this exhibition, 90s being particularly on trend at the moment, we're looking at some pieces. Obviously, this is the very sort of historic editorial spread, Wild at Heart, that was from the early 90s, where we see Chanel's now signature, very chunky hardware and biker jacket aesthetic kind of coming through here with this sort of initial street style editorial spread.
A huge trend in 2013.
Oh yeah, exactly. We've got all of the tropes of our current trends: the leather jackets, the gold chains.
New York is such a fashion hub. How would you say that the fashion trends here differ from other major cities?
I think definitely one thing that sets New York apart and has always set New York apart is the retail side of the industry, how important that is in the creative process. I think that American designers and New York-based designers are incredibly creative and have, and many of them have a very avant-garde vision, but they also have, and I think this is a laudable quality, a very keen eye for functionality to a certain respect. There, you can always see a certain comfort and use value in the clothing that they're putting out. It's very rare that on a New York runway you see something that you can't really envision a New York woman walking down the street in, and I think that that's something that really sets the city apart.
What would you say about the stereotype that New Yorkers only wear black?
Well, I mean, I am actually clad entirely in black right now, so I think that there is some validity to that stereotype, but obviously there are exceptions to the rule, and we see a lot of designers particularly playing with a lot of color recently particularly, and I think there's a lot of vibrant color out on the street as well. I definitely don't think everybody wears black. I think that I do have a lot of friends that wear a lot of black, and black is a very important color, but at the same time, definitely not all that we wear.
All right. Thank you, Emma. This is Sam Katz with Gallery Glass. Now give us a kiss.